How was that? Can you hear me now? Yes, no? Waiting for chat to see if they can hear me. Hey, there we go. Got it. Had the wrong microphone set. Can you guys hear the music? Is the music too loud? 118 people already, and I haven't even done anything yet. Happy Friday, friends. We'll hang out here for about an hour. I got to go pick the kid up from school, so we'll do that later, but you got me for about the next hour. Figure we could talk about some stuff that's going on. I got some questions. If you're a YouTube channel member, I solicited a few. I got a few questions we could go to, and then obviously anything else you guys want to talk about, we could certainly do that. It's been a while since we did one of these. It's really stupid because I pay for this software to be able to do this, and then I don't ever do it. So I should probably take advantage since I'm paying for it. If you are in the chat, let me know where you are watching from or listening from or whatever. If you'd like to throw out questions, comments, topics that you want to discuss, let me know. First of all, big thank you to everyone at 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. Massive, big time. The goal for the year now is to get to 50 before the year is over on YouTube. The goal is also 50,000 on Facebook as well. So if you are a Facebooker and that's something you are into, you could do that. We're streaming right now on Facebook. We're also streaming on Twitch. So if you are a Twitch person, we can do that over there as well. Connor Wade, ladies and gentlemen. Live from Volusia. Hello, Connor Wade. You can see Connor tonight on DIRTRACKR. He's the guy in the infield with the microphone talking to everybody. Connor does a fantastic job. Hello, Connor. Volusia has been pretty fun the last couple of nights. Good show last night. Some interesting things happening the night before. Carson Macedo, even with a broken leg, still can win races. Ocala off and running. Jonathan Davenport, a couple of wins there. Drinking Bush lattes in Victory Lane. We'll have winter freeze at Screven. A lot of money for those sport compacts. Had mod lights at Ocala, very crashy. Obviously, Paul Silva. I had people texting me about him from last night, putting the special qualifying wing on Larson's car. Lots of people from all over the place. Alabama, Georgia, Missouri, Fresno, Stockton. DJ in Clovis, California, home of Corey Day. Ashley waving at me. Like I said, I do have a few questions from some of my YouTube channel members. If you have questions, feel free to throw those in the chat. I will get to those as we go along here. If there's other things you would like to talk about. Christopher Bell, your World of Outlaws points leader right now after last night. I don't think he's going to stick around and run full time, though. Tony Laporta, speaking of pit reporters, high limit pit reporter on Flow Racing. Hello, Tony Laporta. Taylor is watching from my home state of Oregon. Hello, Taylor. Speaking of YouTube channels, the Rodman Rundown. Chase Rodman in Indiana. You guys should go subscribe to Chase's YouTube channel. He does a fantastic job. Lots of sprint car things over there if you would like even more sprint car content. So we'll have night 2 or night 3 of World of Outlaws at Volusia tonight. We'll have things ramping up a little bit more with Lucas Light Models at Ocala. Jonathan Davenport 2 in a row. He's now up to 2nd in the standings behind Devin Moran. I still feel like Brandon Overton probably gets a win before the week is over. He's been fast. I know he's hungry. Brandon Shepard, definitely a better night last night than we've seen him have. He definitely needed that as well. Hello, Jamie from Victoria, Australia. If you're an iRacing person, check out Nathan. They do iRacing content on YouTube and they have a podcast. Looking at my questions, if you're a channel member, I have like a thread going on over on YouTube if you would like to throw a question in right now. The first question from channel member I'll throw out here is from Carl. He wants to know, as Daytona and Volusia roll around, do you miss your old jobs as a tire changer and a WRG? I will say yes and no about missing my old racing jobs. In terms of the NASCAR stuff, certainly miss the competition, certainly miss doing pit stops and being with the guys. I don't miss a lot of other things, the travel, things like that. So it was fun. I did it for almost 20 years. I think that was plenty. We'll get out of the way now that I'm 41 years old and let some of the guys half my age take over. As for World Racing Group, I still feel like I'm pretty involved because of the show. So it's not like I'm away from dirt racing, even though I don't work at World Racing Group anymore. I mean, I haven't worked at World Racing Group for what, 5 years now. So I would say this is more fun. No offense to my WRG colleagues or my past WRG colleagues. Clifford would like to know if UMTS is going to be on my radar. USMTS always on my radar. We will certainly be paying attention to those guys this season, as we always have. This always goes back to the problem, right? Like people always say, why don't you cover more series? Why don't you cover more divisions? Why don't you talk about more stuff? And I would do those things more often if people would click on the videos when I talk about those things. If I put a non-wing car, if I put a midget, if I put a modified, all of a sudden my audience is just cut in half. And I'm even convinced at this point that if you're a sprint car fan and I put a late model on the thumbnail, those people aren't clicking. And vice versa. If I put a sprint car on the thumbnail and you're a late model person, those people aren't clicking. Which is interesting because I talk about many topics over the course of a show, an 8 or 9 minute show. But I have to pick like one thing, two things, maybe 3 things that I can put on the thumbnail. I can't put everything on the thumbnail. There's not enough room, and then they get very small on your mobile device. So, yes, last night was a World of Outlaws points race. I don't know why. This has been like a question all week. It was just the first night was show up points. Everything else is normal points as usual. They just kind of gave him a little bit of a freebie to start the season. So just the first night. Jarrett wants to know if I have any family members in Oregon that are willing to help him out with some bets. I mean, I certainly have lots of family members in Oregon. I don't know that any of them are interested in gambling, especially gambling on sprint cars and late models. So probably not. Rodman coming with the stats in the chat. Logan Schuhart has been solid to start here. Let's go look at some Logan stats. I haven't looked at Logie here. If you're curious, I have an entire section of DIRTRACKR.com devoted to dirt racing stats. DIRTRACKR.com/analytics. 4th and 3rd through the first 2 nights for Logan Schuhart. See, this is the problem, right? Sprint cars are you're not clicking. So you're going to miss a whole crap load of the sprint car topics I talk about because I don't put a sprint car on the thumbnail. Like, that's a mistake. I'm sorry, that's a mistake. Who outside of Sweet is a legit championship contender for high limit, and one bold prediction about the rookies? I mean, Sunshine is going to be a contender. Rico will probably be back as a contender. You know, if we could see Brent Marks make a step forward. And we'll see about Justin Peck. We'll see. Rookies, I think Dazen Persley is the rookie on that side until someone shows us otherwise. Of my DIRTRACKR YouTube channel members, next question from them. Dirtbag Racing wants to know, which is my favorite division on dirt? And to be honest, I don't really have one. I've gotten pegged for many, many years as you're a sprint car guy because I hosted a sprint car podcast. That doesn't mean anything. So When I worked at World Racing Group, I spent just as much time working on all of the other things, and I try to keep things fairly equal over here. Michael wants to thank my mom for all of the updates. Yes, if you're not aware, the streaming schedule at DIRTRACKR.com is managed by my mother. She does a nice job. Let's see what else. Can we hear about what actually happened to Rico this winter? We know about Carson. These are the types of things that I just don't care about. Like, this is not a story that I'm going to run down. I don't care what happened to Rico. I don't really care what happened to Carson. The story is that they're injured. You know, whether it was doing something insanely stupid or whether it was like something completely innocuous, like, I don't really care. Like, you're kind of venturing into other things, and like there's definitely a line that I'm not going to cross with this show, which I've made clear in the past. So if Rico or Carson wanted people to know what happened, they would let you know. But yeah, this isn't something I'm going to dive into. Dustin Selvage wants to know if you can use a VPN for betting out of state. I don't know the answer to that. I've never tried. Maybe some other people in the chat would know about that. I do not. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I know some stuff, like when I use a VPN on my phone, like my wife is Canadian, so sometimes we go to Canada and I want to watch Netflix and stuff. And so you can use a VPN and still get all of your normal things. I don't know if that would work for everything. So yeah, maybe somebody else knows better than I do. When is the Larson diecast with the silver wing coming out? I don't know. Probably right after the one with the turned up headers. There's a lot of questions in here, and I'm trying to... Nathan wants to know if this is my full-time job now. I mean, I guess. I'm not really doing anything else outside. I mean, I shouldn't say I'm not really doing anything else. I'm also going to grad school. So half the days are usually taken up by DIRTRACKR things, and the other half of the days are spent doing grad school things. And if you're curious about grad school, this is one of my grad school books. And I have another one also. These are two of my grad school books, just in case you're curious. There's a lot of that going on. But yes, for the time being, this is working out. And obviously it helps to have great partners like Kubota. Jeff wants to know, after 2 nights at Volusia, which driver has surprised me? I don't know that anything has been a massive shock. Maybe Gio. You know, needed a provisional the first night, 25th last night. Would expect those guys to be a little bit better on half miles. The last 5 races for Gio, 4 finishes of 14th or worse. 17th and 27th at World Finals, sandwich around an 8th and a 14th and a 25th to start the season here. Would have expected maybe a little bit better from those guys. Other than that, I don't know that anything has been super surprising. You know, you never want to read too much into Volusia just because of the conditions, and like no other track in the country is like Volusia is at this time of year. So don't know that I would read too much into these nights. Sean wants to know what betting site is the dirt stuff on. So I know DraftKings has things, NXT Bets has things, Underdog Sports, I know, is one of those places you can find some of the odds and things. It seems like the offerings are very different across, and some days they have them and some days they don't. So you're definitely going to have to kind of do some investigating about all of those things. Okay, so here you go. VPNs don't work. DraftKings uses GPS, not network location, for placing wagers. I would think that they would do they would be pretty hardcore about tracking this stuff, being as how it's like not legal. So Alan wants to know what degree program. I'm getting my master's in data science. So like machine learning, a lot of coding, some AI stuff, things like that. This has been offered to me. Jamie Ball was trying to get me to come to Knoxville. It's been offered for me to do things at World Finals, being as how the racetrack is like right by my house. I've always turned it down. I don't know how well my format works. Like, obviously, I can interview drivers on a stage, but my show, I don't really know if it works live. So I don't know. And actually, just a couple of things later, TLP. I don't want to say never, but I don't know. Would love to see an OG Open Red edition of DIRTRACKR with me and Ross. Actually, I interviewed Ross pretty early on in doing DIRTRACKR stuff. And I go back and listen to those old Open Red episodes sometimes. They are so good. And I'm not like saying that because I was on them. Like, I wish my shows now were as good as Open Red was with me and Ross back in the day. Like, I didn't realize at the time, like, just how good it was. And now I go back and I listen. I'm like, damn, these are good. We really had something. Is Rocket in trouble right now? I don't know. This one's always a hard one, right? And you know, like I talked about this on the Daily Show, right? Like Mark Richards talking about how in the last 12 months they've had 3 different drivers, which is true. You go from Hudson to McCready to Shep, and like he said, they all like different things. So there's going to be probably some amount of transition time. I definitely think last night was better. What did Shep finish? I think 4th. You know, we'll see, right? Like, I definitely think they're at least a little bit behind Longhorn right now. You know, I think there's maybe even a case to be made that Infinity is a little bit better, you know, with some of the stuff we've seen Gustin do. You know, do I think it'll last? I don't think so. I'm sure, you know, those guys will figure it out, but they definitely started a little bit slower than I thought they were going to. This is probably not happening. There are a number of reasons why that I will not get into here, but you probably won't see me doing anything in any sort of official capacity for Eldora. Do I think Shep or Bronson get a win this weekend? I do not. I do not. I think you're going to continue to see similar guys, Davenport, Moran, Overton. You know, you got Pierce coming in, tonight and tomorrow. I think it'll be very, very difficult for Rocket One or Bronson to win. I'm going to do my last. I only had 3 questions from channel members. I'm going to do the last one here. Tim Albrecht wanted to know, is Talon Center staying with Hunt the Front, or is that a temporary thing? And I actually reached out and asked. I was told that Talon is not full-time with the team. He's kind of doing a consulting deal with them. But he's going to be at the track with Hunt the Front at a lot of races this year as crew chief for Joseph. So not a full-time deal, but you will see Talon more throughout the season. He's going to continue helping them out. No update on the World of Outlaws late model title sponsor. I've not heard anything. Somebody sent me a list of companies that they were potentially talking to. I would have expected maybe if they had something locked down that we would have heard already. It's not been uncommon in the past for the series to go to Volusia, not sponsored, and then by the time the season started back up again, for them to be sponsored. So, you know, we'll see. But yeah, nothing solid right now on a title sponsor for the series. People love to point this out, like just what they perceive to be this slight against non-outlaw teams. It's like, yeah, are they not going to go out of their way to like talk about the other series? Yeah, we know they're going to do that. They've been doing it for years. This isn't new. It's funny to me that we're shocked that companies are not promoting other companies. I mean, like, I don't know what the expectation is. Like, I don't think Johnny talks about Kyle Larson or Christopher Bell or Brad Sweet any different than he talks about the other people. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it that way. And like when Johnny introduces Kyle, he does say Flow Racing as one of his sponsors. So I don't know. I think this is all overblown. Eddie coming through with the conspiracy. Now it's the other way. Now he's spying on Rocket for Longhorn. I don't know that I would be too worried about that right now.
And since it's dietitian approved, you can enjoy all of the flavor with none of the guilt. Isn't it about time mealtime got smarter? Upgrade your plate, refresh your routine, eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
Where do I see the dirt racing streaming scene in 5 years from now? I have no idea. Like, this stuff changes so quickly. You know, there is a lot of moving parts and pieces, and like I don't know that you could sit here and you know, say what it would be in 5 years. Like when I worked at World Racing Group and Flow Racing came in, they didn't know the difference between like modified types, right? Like they couldn't tell the difference between a UMP modified and a big block modified because Flow Racing originally had the Super DIRTRACKR series. Like they paid World Racing Group for that. And it's like, then they acquire Dirt on Dirt. They get Michael Rigsby and a bunch of his people. And then all of a sudden they're legitimized, right? And then, you know, they've got venture capital and all of this stuff so they can buy up a bunch of, you know, streaming rights. And then, you know, a couple of years later, a lot of those streaming rights are gone. They've given all of that stuff up. So, you know, where this is going, I don't know. I know that, you know, lots of things have been explored behind the scenes. I know that there's been talks of acquisitions and sales and all sorts of things. People you wouldn't even like believe interested or potentially interested in buying one of these companies or series or whatever. So to sit here and say, like, I have no idea where they will be. This is always a question I get too. How often do I go to the races? Not that often, honestly. I was going to try to go to World Finals this last year, but my wife had some work things going on, and so I ended up not making it out there because I have to keep track of my 11-year-old. I went to Golden Isles last year for Lucas and High Limit. I spent some time at Charlotte at the test at the end of the season. But I'm kind of at a point where, like, I used to spend every weekend at the racetrack. I would, pit 100 races a year. And I kind of feel like I owe it to my family to be around a little bit more. So, like, I'll make it out periodically when it works, but not that often. And to be fair, like, I don't really need to go. The Donnie Schatz thing that we talked about on the Daily Show on Thursday about the Fox shocks and some of the chassis stuff. Like, I can find out those things sitting here in my house. Like, I don't necessarily need to be at the racetrack for that stuff. This has been the case for a long time. Like, that right side sideboard on the 69K, the top of it is like basically flush with the flat part of the wing. That's been like that for a long time. See, like, this is another thing when we talk about World Racing Group, the Outlaws, High Limit, Lucas, right? So it's in the best interest of High Limit to promote everything, right? They're the challenger. So it's easier for them to do this and to try to take advantage of these moments, right? And like, if I was at High Limit, and as somebody with a marketing background and doing social media for as long as I have been, like, I would do these things. Like, they're doing it the right way, right? But for World Racing Group, there's no incentive for them to do this, right? And it's like, we always go back to this conversation about business, right? Like, you don't see other businesses promoting their competitors. Like, it doesn't happen. And it's like, yeah, like, you would like to see things playing a little bit nicer. But it's like this whole idea of like, oh, it's about sprint car racing as a whole, but like, is it? Like, I don't know that it is. Like, these people are running businesses. They're trying to make money. They're like drawing lines around territories and racetracks and all of these things. I think it's a complete misnomer that it's about the betterment of the sport. I think that's true in modified racing. I think that's true in sprint car racing. I think that's true in late model racing. Like, these things are very territorial. And it's, I was on the Drivers Project podcast, several weeks ago, and they asked about, what I thought about dirt racing, going mainstream. And it's like, it's too fractured. It's always been too fractured. It's always going to be too fractured. And it's like, this is a big reason why. So I don't know. I don't necessarily believe all of that stuff, but I think High Limit is playing it the right way, if that makes sense. The point fund is on the website. Tow money, I talked about this last week for the Outlaws. The rest of the benefit, I don't know if the bonus thing is live or not. I'm not sure. I think most of that's the same. I don't know that it's changed. I don't know enough about this situation. I saw people betting on him, and I saw all the bets were canceled. I didn't see what the reasoning was. And to be fair, like, we're going to talk about like the betting stuff. Like, I am not a gambler. Like, I'm not placing bets on this stuff. I'm not deep in on these things. So there's going to be other people. Like, if you want that type of content, there's going to be people that are going to provide that. It's probably not going to be me. Like, do I know what a parlay is? Yeah, I do. But like, I'm not really a gambling person. The sprint car print behind me is Annika Kozer. You can literally go to AnnikaKozarArt.com, I believe. Annika Koz. Yep. ANNIKAKOSER art.com. Her prints and artwork is available for sale there. In my opinion, will Flow be raising subscription prices anytime soon? Didn't they raise them this year? Isn't it like 180 or 190 now? I definitely think that that's just the nature of things. So what are the odds that Axum signs after this weekend? I think we have to kind of wait and see how it plays out with how well he does. The way I understand it, they're kind of in a wait and see mode just to see how they were going to stack up this weekend before they kind of made a final decision. I don't have a sense either way of which direction they could go. I think it could go either way. Obviously, if he signs, there's lots of benefits for that. But, you know, the Outlaws is tough. It's going to be tough all year. You know, obviously what we saw last night, he's certainly more than capable of competing. He's going to have an Outlaw win probably fairly soon, I would guess. But I don't have a sense for where they are right now. How did all the rest of sports get killed by gambling? I don't understand this. These points that people bring up in these conversations about gambling, it's like, if you don't like gambling, then don't do it. It's really not that difficult. And like I talked about, the gambling, like the limits right now on the dirt racing stuff, like no one's losing their houses over betting $25 parlays. Like it's not, this stuff is like just not true. Like what evidence is there that gambling has killed other sports? Apparently other people agree with me. Per Matt Weaver's video from last night, Axum has not decided to go on a tour. Yeah, that makes sense. I really feel like they're going to get through the weekend and then they can make a decision down the road. You have to remember there's 2 or 3 weeks in between, you know, when the World of Outlaws come back. Actually, no, it's more than that. It's almost a month. So they're going to have time before they have to really make a decision. And like, obviously, until they sign, they're not getting any of the benefits. So, but that's not that big of a deal. So this is also something I've seen the questions about. I did talk about this on the Daily Show yesterday. You're not going to empty your provisional tank at Volusia. The teams who were full-time last year with the Outlaws, they get unlimited provisionals at Volusia, like to start for DIRTRACKR Nationals. After DIRTRACKR Nationals, you then get 2 until June 30th. And then on July 1st, you get 2 more to the end of the season. And then again, you get unlimited provisionals at World Finals. So Gio Selzy and Sheldon and some of these guys that have used provisionals to start, it doesn't affect the provisionals that they have available for the rest of the season. And that is spelled out explicitly in the Outlaw rulebook. We can certainly have a philosophical question about, or philosophical debate about whether provisionals should exist or not. That kind of happened a little bit yesterday in the comments on that video. But yeah, like the guys using provisionals at Volusia does not hurt them the rest of the season. I don't think this will ever happen again. I have a daily show from, I think, last year about when the Outlaws went and ran the race inside the dome in Tampa. Like, this just doesn't work. I think there's probably an argument to be made about whether or not it works for late model racing. But winged 410 sprint cars inside of a building, I don't think that's happening. Even when they did it think about like when they did it at Bristol, or even when they did it at Tampa, they don't put anybody in the stands like for the lower like 20 rows because they're worried about cars going up into the stands. It's like, that's not the vibe. So I wouldn't hold my breath that this is happening anytime soon. I don't have any plans right now for any more types of content like this. I really liked doing the build series with Zach. There's some incredible information in there. If you want to know every nut and bolt on a sprint car, like, go watch those videos because there's so much in there to learn. But those videos were so much work. I don't particularly like editing video, which I think probably sounds weird for somebody who, is doing a lot of video content at this point. But my shows, my daily shows, there's no editing at all. Like, I literally record in one shot. I use streaming software similar to what I'm using right now. I load all of my scenes are loaded onto my Stream Deck. So like, as I'm talking, and like when you see images come up on the screen, it's just me pushing these buttons. My other camera, which my daily show camera is right there. I have a teleprompter. I write a full script. I record those in one shot and upload because I don't want to edit video. So I don't want to say never again, but there are no plans currently. It's so obvious that it's predetermined. I would love to have someone explain to me the logistics of fixing a sprint car race. Please, like, put some time together, write it down. Let me know exactly how this works. I have thought about separating daily shows a little bit, but I kind of don't want to. I don't know. And I have a lot of people who watch my shows who have told me, like, I wasn't really a late model guy, and then I started watching your shows, and like, now I kind of pay attention. So I'm kind of fine throwing it all in together, to be honest. I think we'll see, right? Like, obviously Corey is as talented as they come. Will he be Bell? Will he be Larson? Like, I don't know. I mean, he's certainly going to have every advantage and all of the resources imaginable to make that happen. I think it's a lot of it's going to come down to him and how quickly he can learn and pick things up and how serious he takes it. And, there's obviously a lot of good people in his corner. I mean, Jason Myers is no slouch. And there's lots of people, at and around Hendrick Motorsports who are going to make sure that he has all of the tools necessary. This is an interesting question with the sprint cars, right? Because you would say no, right? Like, oh, there's going to be 75 races, he can make it up, right? But like, Carson Macedo had a bad Dirt Car Nationals last year, and it really hurt him all season. And it's like, that's just how competitive, these series are. Like, you kind of can't have many bad nights. Like you might be able to get away with 1 or 2, but like on the high limit side, when you're talking about Brad Sweet wins championships because he just top 5s and top 10s you to death. Like Brad's not winning 30 races a year, but you know what? He's going to be on the podium and in the top 5 and the top 10 like every single damn night.
Without all the prep. Meat Factor. Chef prepared meals delivered with a tap. Ready in just 2 minutes. Now you can have dinner on autopilot or lunch without lifting a finger. And since it's dietitian approved, you can enjoy all of the flavor with none of the guilt. Isn't it about time mealtime got smarter? Upgrade your plate. Refresh your routine. Eat smart.
This is true for Skylar G. It isn't. I don't believe it's true for Hampton because Rose's car was full-time last year. To be fair, like I understand this because Cletus knows, and really any content creator, right? They know very well what it is that they're trying to get accomplished in their videos. They know how they want to put their stories together. It doesn't shock me at all that like some really high level creators still handle all of their own stuff, right? This is true of the Hunt the Front guys. This is obviously true of a guy like Cletus. And like even if you go away from content creation, like in motorsports, like some really high level, just general creators, like Mr. Beast isn't still editing his videos, but like a lot of other people are. And it's because it's so difficult to teach somebody like what your voice is and what your vision is. So this actually makes a ton of sense. And honestly, like it's one of the things that I like to have a creator business, at least to do it the way I do it. It does like, it really breaks down if I start hiring people, because now you have all this overhead and like, this business works for me because I can just do everything. So it's like, if you've ever bought a t-shirt, I packed it and shipped it and sent it to you. Like if you do things on DIRTRACKR Plus, or if there's sponsorships, like it's just me. Like I am a one-man band. And I, like I said earlier, outside of the keeping the streaming schedule on the website updated, like I do everything, and I do everything because that's how the business works. Do I see any other late model drivers going to commit to the Lucas Tour after Speed Weeks? I don't think so. I don't know that there's anybody really kind of on the fringes. Like it seems like most everybody who's committed, we basically already know about. And the thing of it is with Lucas, and I'm there's probably going to be a conversation, like an interview video at some point in the near future with Lucas's, the series director, Rick Schwally. Like me and him have talked about that. Like you have to have your paperwork and there's a deposit that you have to have down like early on. So it's like, you can't like decide later, to be able like to sign on effectively. Like you kind of have to get your deposit in, like to be able to take advantage of all of the benefits. So like to have kind of surprise additions later on, at least with Lucas, is kind of unlikely. Most of the people that are going to be with the series are kind of already committed. They may fall off, but like late additions probably don't happen that often. Eric wants to know about Paul Silva conspiracies. Obviously, I was referring to the wing situation last night. I don't know that this is going to be a topic on the Daily Show. Like, I don't really think it matters all that much, but it certainly makes people talk when Larson rolls out for qualifying with a different wing and then they put something else on it for the rest of the night. I watch very little racing live. I mean, very little. I don't want to sit through cautions. I don't want to sit through track work. Like when I can get up the next day and buzz through and see the things I want to see. Yeah, like I'm not going to sit for 3 or 4 or 5 hours for Dirt Vision or Flow Racing broadcast. Like, and with as many nights a week as there is racing, my wife would divorce me. Like that's just, it's not happening. Why do the platinum agreements need to be public? I mean, I basically did a show this week where I shared everything that's inside of the Platinum Agreement. Like, if you are going to go run with the series, you can reach out to them and they will send you all of the details. The same is true of High Limit. I haven't seen the High Limit, the newest one. I have one from a couple of years ago, but they're really not that interesting. It's just a contract. There's a lot of contracty, legally language in there. They're really not that exciting. I honestly, like, I thought my show this week where I talked about it would do better than it did. I don't know that you'll see CV run for a Triple Crown. I think he's going to run the sprint car, and I think he's going to do a lot of late model racing. I would be surprised if he did the full midget season. Maybe he'll do Silver Crown just because it's such a less of a commitment, but I don't know that you'll see him compete for the silver or for the Triple Crown this year. You're going to have to be more specific about what 10 team you're talking about. I have no idea who you're referring to. Yeah, like, I think this is probably true. It just looked out of place last night because the wing was different. It was all metal, and it's Paul Silva. Like, anything Paul does is going to draw, draw more attention. I'm kind of in constant conversations with a lot of people around the sport on a daily basis. Whether that's drivers or team people or, people at some of the companies who provide parts. That's like been one of the coolest things to me about doing these shows is the people who have made themselves available to answer my really stupid questions sometimes. And like, I kind of half understand things. Like, I can certainly work on cars and do things, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm any sort of race car genius about how this stuff works. But like, when I want to know about shocks, I have a couple of people who I can message and be like, okay, so explain this to me like I'm 5. But yeah, like the conversations with people are ongoing all the time, whether it's text messages or phone calls or, DMs on social media. Like, there's conversations happening literally every day. I think this is kind of a non-topic. Like, I'm fine with, there's 100 something cars there. Like, if they want to run 6 features a night, like, it doesn't bother me. And if you notice, it's kind of the same people that win. Like, I know Nick Hoffman doesn't like that it's easier to win a Gator now, but the reason they do that is to, like, give a little bit something back to the guys that come every single year. And like, a lot of those guys, like, weren't even making features, period. And so, like, now to give them a shot to, like, win a race, like, some of those guys, they're not going to have a shot to win like that at any other point in the season. So, like, I'm okay with it. Like, a lot of the modified guys, they're not professional racers anyway. And like, when it comes to the big Gator deal on Saturday night, it's still going to be the big names, right? It's still going to be, McKinney and Strickler and all of those guys up front. Like, that stuff doesn't change. I mean, if Roth doesn't bring a car out, they're not getting a charter. I believe I had the answer to this at some point on a daily show. I can't remember because Brad had talked about it. That I think it, God, I can't remember if it goes to the next car. I don't remember. I'll have to look into that one. I don't know which comments you're referring to, Tim. You'll have to let me know in the chat. All right, I got about maybe 10 more minutes, 5 or 10 more minutes here. So if you have questions, last minute questions you want to get in, feel free to put those in now. Because I'm gonna have to be in the car line to get the child here fairly quickly. So I don't know how you answer questions like this. Like, how do you decide who is the best driver in the country? Like, if you notice, like, one thing that I don't do is, like, we're not doing power rankings and things like that. Like, it's so arbitrary. It's like if Bobby and RTJ run against each other 20 times, 30 times this year, like, it's probably going to be fairly split about who beats the other. I think they're both incredibly good drivers. I think they both have really great race teams. I just don't know how you answer these questions. I'm not putting the pit helmet on again. That's not happening. That was a one-time thing. No shot. Yes, it is still fun if I'm not watching it live. I don't need to watch it live. And a lot of times, especially for the big races, like, I'll make sure that I avoid social media so I don't know what happened when I turn it on. But yeah, it's not ruined by not watching it live. I don't know what else I would expand into. I mean, the amount of content that I put out right now is fairly significant. I mean, I'm like daily posting to obviously the show, to 3 platforms, well, more than that, 4 platforms, plus short form videos, photos, keeping up social media accounts. Like, I don't know where else to go. I mean, I could obviously do more different types of videos, but I don't know. I feel like people kind of come to me for a certain thing, and we're gonna stick with that, I think. And like you like this says, like, I'm kind of out of time. Like, I don't know what else I could do. Just like I have a hard time sometimes just keeping up with the stuff I'm already doing. I'm just not a conspiracy theory person at all. So I don't know that I have a favorite one. And like, I'm not going to say that there aren't conspiracies, because there probably are, but the amount of organization that it would take to pull some of this stuff off. And like, think about your job. Think about where you work. Think about how difficult it is to get even a couple of people to like run a proper meeting or to like work together well on a project. So you're telling me that you're going to get a sizable amount of people together. They're all going to work together to do X, Y, and Z. None of them are going to say anything about it. And that's just going to go off without anybody finding out. Like, people are just not that organized. Like, we give people way too much credit for stuff like this. See, this is fine. If you want to share the screenshot, by all means, but I don't need to put the helmet on again. It kind of sounds like Speed Week stuff is all completely up in the air right now anyway. Like, if you listened at all to like some of the comments from Michael Rigsby, like, all of this stuff is still very much fluid for next year. Like, I don't know that you'll see maybe like DIRTRACKR Nationals and things like that change. But the late model stuff, I think, is definitely up in the air. Do I read my comment sections? Yes, unfortunately. Unfortunately. To be fair, right? Like 95% of the comment section is great. And I don't care if people want to disagree with me or whatever. I don't understand why everything has to, like, when people are really angry, especially like at me, like, for what? Like, it's racing. Like, we're doing entertainment. Like, it's not politics, it's not healthcare, it's not the economy. Like, this is supposed to be the escape. I don't understand why people are so mad and why they get so mad at me. And like, I've never like called anybody a name or cussed at people, but they sure do that to me. I don't really get it, to be honest with you. Yeah, I did not see Kenny's comments about Volusia and the way they're running the format. I'm not shocked that somebody like him would not be happy with it. So I didn't see specifically what he had to say, but I would not be surprised if he was critical. This is a fantastic point, by the way, of racing and like race nights in general. And like when we talk about like, oh, how come there's no dirt racing on television, right? And it's like the issues that I talk about and the reasons why I don't watch live is like because of that. Like you can't put the World of Outlaws live on, CBS and, have an hour break in between the B main and the feature to rework the track. And honestly, the track work is what completely ruins the Saturday nights at the Chili Bowl, right? Like the Chili Bowl runs so well from Monday through whatever it is, the E's or something on Saturday. Incredible, right? Like you will not see a more organized and well put together racing program than the Chili Bowl. But as soon as you get to that point, then it just completely grinds to a halt. And it's like it ruins the appeal of all of it. So, but this is a great point and why we don't have, bigger things and more coverage. I would rather have a fork in my eye than do a daily political show, just for the record. All right, I'm going to give you 3 more minutes because it's 2:02 right now. So at 2:05, we're cutting it off. So last call for questions. By the way, thank you for everybody for tuning in. Hit those like buttons, hit those subscribe buttons. If you're on Facebook, like and follow the Facebook page, youtube.com/DIRTRACKR. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can follow it on Twitch. You can follow DIRTRACKR across social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, like wherever you are, there is a page for DIRTRACKR there. So make sure you do all of those things. I think this is kind of a fair point, honestly. I don't know that it needs to be mainstream. Like it's not going to be mainstream, but I think that's okay. I don't think that's a problem. I think there's still a lot of ways to be successful and to continue growing this thing. All of that. I definitely think that's possible without it being like, I don't know that dirt racing needs to be the NFL or NASCAR or Formula One. Tom wants to know if I respond to my email. Sometimes I get a lot. The volume of messages that I get is fairly large. So if I don't respond to an email or a message, it's not like, please don't take it personal. But there's just a lot. All right, last questions. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. This is your 2-minute warning. By the way, everybody, all of the people thanking me and congratulating me in the chat, I did see all of those. The support is like incredible. Just so thank you for all of that, and the people congratulating me for 40,000 YouTube subscribers and thanking me for doing the shows and all of that. Like I see all of those things, so it is much appreciated. I try to say that at least once a week that I appreciate the support. So just know that I see it. I'm going Chiefs. Experience. Mahomes. I don't know. I think they get it done. I mean, I think there's a case to be made that there should be one national tour. I also think there's a case to be made that there shouldn't be one national tour. It's not going to happen. So, I mean, we could talk about it till we're blue in the face, but we just have 2 sprint car tours now, and we just have 2 late model tours. To be fair, you would not be the first person this week to say this. You know what's funny about the people who like are mad at me about things, or they don't like my show and they comment? It's like, it's okay if you don't like what I do. Like, it's really fine. Like, if you don't like what I do, I would rather you didn't tune in, right? Like, life is too short to consume content you don't like. So if you don't like what I do, then don't come back. Like, you could tell YouTube and Facebook to like not recommend my content to you. It's really really not that hard. Please don't come back. This is a very difficult question. I would probably go to Ocala. But modifieds, I don't know. That's a tough one. Okay, we're wrapping up. It's 2:06. I even went longer than I said I was going to. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. I appreciate all of the support. I don't know how often we'll do more of these. I shall probably do more of them than I do. I know you guys like the interview stuff. Maybe we'll do more of those. I do think I'll probably have something with Lucas director Rick Schwally soon. Me and him have had that conversation. So hopefully there'll be a few more things like that. But thanks everybody for the support. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday and the racing out there. We'll be back on Sunday with a fresh daily show. So yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Bye.